started with a physics lesson where I drew a box on a surface, and I explained that if the box is not accelerating, then that means all of the forces on the box are canceling each other out. So if there's a force of gravity pulling it down, then there's a equal and opposite force. Now this is going to sound like Newtonian physics, but equal and opposite force pushing up from the floor, right? So let's say force of the floor. So this is a way to think about forces. Clearly, you can also have a person standing on a surface, and if that person is not accelerating in the up and down direction, then in their case also the forces are of equal magnitude, opposite direction. All right, so you realize that these forces, they have a direction to them and a magnitude. Okay, it could be a very strong force or a weak force. But we are much more than just a body. We are, as I began to get into it last video, we are an energy system. So this is a person depicted as their energy system. Whereas here I'm talking about their body, here is the energy system. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I would ask if you've ever dissected a human corpse. I did that in anatomy physiology class, and it's quite an experience. If you haven't done it, then I would question how much you really understand what a human being is. See, because a body, physical body, bones, muscles, etc., if it is not alive, there's a large void there. There's some lacking, right? It lacks the responsiveness that an alive person has. When a person is alive, there's a lot of energy flowing through them, and they respond to you, right? You say something, they say something back. You smile, they smile. There's like a give and take and a responsiveness that you don't get when a person, when a body is not alive. So I really think of human beings as these temporary energy systems, and the body is just sort of like a vessel. It allows that energy to flow the same way as you can't have an instrument, or you can't have a concert without the instruments, and yet the instruments are not the music, right? This is the instrument, it's your physical body, but here's the music being played. This is like your beingness, your mind, your psyche. So anyways, let's talk about the various forces that your energy system may experience. As a child, for instance, you might have a very large force of curiosity, which causes you to, and then this begs the question, well, if I'm talking about energy, then what does right and left mean? Because obviously they don't mean right and left like your body moves to the right or to the left. What does it mean for your energy to move this way or that way, right? For the sake of this example, let's assume that the right direction is action and the left direction is inaction. So let me label. So there's going to be a force of curiosity for a young infant. They're going to pick up a lot of objects, and they're not going to have very much force of fear when picking up those objects. And that's why it's dangerous, and you've got to watch little kids or infants and make sure that they don't put objects in their mouth that they could choke on, that they don't touch fire or hot things, and that they don't, walk towards the edge of a table they could fall off of, or things like that. Their fear is very minimal. But what happens is that as we become adults, our force of curiosity becomes smaller. and then our force of fear becomes larger. And there could be various reasons for that. I mean, it's an infant is not going to understand coronavirus if they can't even speak English, but a fully grown adult can understand it, and a fully grown adult might be afraid of catching coronavirus or COVID, right? So, so there's that sort of fear of harm, but there's also a big fear of judgment. So let's do F sub J, a force of fear of judgment. And that could, this would be the energy depiction of you not wanting to ask a dumb question, right? Your curiosity is, has some magnitude to it, but you don't want to look like an idiot in front of a large group. So your force of fear of judgment is greater. And so we kind of understand how this works when it comes to finding out more information about the world, but it gets kind of trippy when you wonder if you are actually following the same pattern when it comes to relationships. And if from going childhood to adulthood, you've had some negative experiences with other human beings, and that has led you to have a very large, maybe not necessarily judgment, so let me erase that, but maybe uh, a fear of a force of fear of all sorts of things, of being rejected. So like an R, right? Fear of rejection or fear of um, too much closeness, all sorts of things. And if your force of, let's not say curiosity, obviously it is, you do learn a lot about people from getting to know them. And so some curiosity could drive that, but there's like a force of, how would I say it? Erich Fromm, the psychologist, likes to talk about, or he has a quote that talks about overcoming separation, that our most basic need is to overcome separation, right? So let's say overcoming separation, a force of overcoming separation. We want to be with other beings, right? It feels good. And if that's not enough to, if our fear of rejection is too large, that that the net force being exerted on your energy system is in this direction, then you're going to lead to inaction rather than starting, that interaction.